anybody got any New Year's resolutions? I mean, we're here in January.
I got a couple. This year, in 2019, I'm going to smoke less weed.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I'm going to start vaping more and enjoying more edibles. Yeah.
All right.
And also, this year, I swear I'm going to do laundry.
Really, after all this time?
You didn't do any laundry last year? Damn.
I'm definitely, well...
What do you just buy new clothes every day? Or
you just turn them inside out, shake them off.
Yeah.
Yeah, inside out, turn them around, yellow, brown, brown, yellow.
I want to go on a date with Amanda.
You're going to go on a date with a man?
Yeah, we were supposed to go out, but or one of her kids wasn't feeling well, so...
Oh, Amanda. I thought you said with a man.
I did too, and that's cool too. No judge.
But that's all right.
No judgment.
Nothing wrong
Man,
with
why
that.
do you guys always bust my chops?
Because they're right out there to be busted.
It's just easy. You got a New Year's resolution, Phil?
I'm finally going to get treatment for my nyctophobia. And it's been going on for a long time, and it's kind of become debilitating, and now I'm finally going to get treated for nyctophobia.
What is nyctophobia?
Oh, it's the dread fear of running full speed backwards into a brass doorknob. And it's been a part of my life for far too long. So, I'm going to get counseling and
I shouldn't laugh.
work on that.
Sorry I laughed, man. That wasn't cool.
You heartless bastard. How about you, Jay?
All kidding aside, I'm going to lose some weight. I'm going to get a little exercise and get my shit together. It's about time.
Yeah, I lay in bed sometimes in the morning, get the feeling I should get up and do some exercise. And so I lay there till the feeling goes away.
Yeah, that's been my problem.
Welcome, everyone, to our very first Vote Pro Pot Clipcast. As you can probably tell, the three of us sure do have fun doing this podcast. And so we've put together some of our more memorable moments from 2018 into a clip show, and we sure hope you enjoy it. But before we get to that, we do have a big announcement, don't we, guys?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is with extreme pleasure that we award our inaugural Vote Pro Pot Person of the Year award to, drumroll please, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for his efforts to end the unjust criminalization of cannabis for our neighbors to the north, and we think that's pretty wonderful.
Way to go. Couldn't be an American.
This is a big deal because it's going to give the cannabis industry a foothold in a country that can support large businesses. Right away, Ecuador, it wasn't Ecuador, what was it?
Uruguay.
You can't really support large businesses and also the proximity to the United States.
Well, plus you can drive to Canada. You can't drive to Europe.
And we share a border, and
That's
we
true.
share an economy in a lot of ways. So,
Yes.
Hey,
So,
can't hurt.
So
Right.
congratulations and thank you, Prime Minister Trudeau, for your great work. And
we will be sending an official plaque that we had made up. Fancy plaque, right, guys?
that's pretty nice, I think.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know, for
we didn't go with the
for
cheap one.
$16, it's pretty good. No, it's more.
No, we spent a lot more than that.
Yeah, it's nice. It's
Along
nice.
with the plaque, if you meet us in Colorado or California, I will personally cook you the best cannabis dinner you'll ever have.
You got it,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Anything you need. Anything you need.
And we want a selfie with the plaque, dude.
So anyway, we've put together our clip show, and we've included some humorous stuff and some, pretty poignant, important stuff. And just to give you a kind of a cross-section of what 2018 was all about for Vote Pro Podcast. So let's hit it. There's a story that came out of Harper's Magazine that was an interview by a fella by the name of Dan Baum, who interviewed in 1994 Watergate co-conspirator and Nixon advisor John Ehrlichman. And Ehrlichman basically came clean about the whole business, saying exactly Andrew, what you just said, that he said basically, well, here's the quote. We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and the blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. Imagine we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify, your word, Andrew, vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. So there it is. The whole basis for why drugs are illegal, why cannabis is sending so many people to jail to this day, is because of a lie.
Well, as it turns out, after last Wednesday, cannabis became legal nationally in Canada, and it only took a few days before they're practically sold out of weed.
What?
Apparently they did.
The country has run out of weed?
Well, they're running low.
Okay.
In certain areas, I think, are more drier than others.
In 5 days.
But
damn, that was quick.
Apparently, what we thought was a cloud storm was just pot smoke.
Yeah. Hurricane Justin.
Hurricane Mary Jane. As it turns out, the first day they did over $2 million in sales, or nationally, which doesn't sound like much, but for the first day out of the gate for new industry, that's pretty good. Oh, excuse me, it was $6 million.
In the first day?
Yeah, the first day, yeah.
That is pretty. Can you imagine what the United States of America numbers would be?
Oh, my God.
The first day that President Trump, or whoever the president is when this happens, signs legalization nationwide. It will be a volcano.
Let me make my computer refresh here.
Get the skilly what the
Jay was doing Popeye.
Okay, I got an article from Forbes magazine. Cannabis goes global while U.S. falls behind. This week, Mexico's Congress is expected to vote on a bill legalizing medical and recreational cannabis use across the country. The president-elect has signaled his willingness to legalize the drug during his campaign, and then last week, the Mexican Supreme Court ruled that anti-cannabis laws were unconstitutional. Now, in addition to Mexico, now Canada and Uruguay have already legalized nationally. And in addition to that, 30 countries as well as 33 United American states, including Australia, Germany, and Israel, have legalized some type of cannabis use. A dozen or more countries have already started their path towards full legalization of the plant. Spain and the Netherlands allow recreational use in designated cafes. Jamaica and the Czech Republic have a booming cannabis tourism industry.
Man, we're getting left in the dust, aren't we, Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
is there anything in that article about, large populations running amok, people becoming violent, kids crashing cars into walls? I mean, is there anything in the article about those phenomena?
No.
No. All right. Maybe because they're not
checking.
happening? No, okay. Just reality check.
Let me tell you a story. Last time I was in Colorado. I was at an expo, and I was going through these seminars, and I'd met a chef who had given an expo, and so we started talking afterwards, and all of a sudden he looked at his watch and went, "Oh God, it's 4:20. Let's want to go out for a smoke break." And I went, "Sure."
Sure. Of course.
So we went outside, and it was funny. Cops were walking by. Hey guys, how's it going? Anyway, and it's funny. This guy was carrying a box with like a 3/4 of a pound of pot in it. He was like, "Oh, it's a half pound, 3/4. I don't know." Anyway, so people were smoking, and they were like, someone had a pipe or an extract or something. I said, "Well, I'll just roll a joint." And the guys looked at me like, "You old guys, man, you love your joints, don't you?"
You and your joints.
And he goes, "Man," and he looked at me, "We don't smoke joints anymore."
That's funny, man.
There's been a study at George Washington University in D.C., the hospital where I was born, I might add. They've come up and they made a statement where they say you should be putting weed take the cannabis supplement and take it rectally. In other words, just shove it up your ass.
Yo.
Whoa.
And I guess in the form of suppositories or enemas.
Put your weed in there.
Well, no, they go on to say, no, I mean, it's legit. I mean, they say because the absorption rate is so much better. And if you're using non-psychotropic, you can really get the dosage that's going to be effective.
I wonder if it's a good treatment for hemorrhoids.
Talk about stinky weed.
That might be a cream. I don't know. Well, they say the enemas work really well, but they taste like shit.
Exactly.
Assistant Professor of Urology Michael Eisenberg was the senior author. Quote, marijuana use is very common, he said, but its large-scale use in association with sexual frequency hasn't been studied much in a specific way. What we found, Eisenberg said, was compared to never users, those who reported daily use had about 20% more sex. See, there you go. So over the course of a year, they're having sex maybe 20 more times. Women who didn't smoke pot had sex an average of 6 times per month, while those who were daily users did it 7.1 times a month, while men, non-pot heads, had sex 5.6 times per month.
How can you have sex 0.6 of a time?
Well, it's an average.
Yeah. The more people used marijuana...
I guess they're counting masturbation. That's like 0.5 of a sex,
0.5.
right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
The older you get, the more you understand a 0.5, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, if sex requires 2 partners, half sex, just one.
The more people used marijuana, the more sex they had. These findings also alleviate some of the anxiety surrounding performance inhibition. Quote, frequent marijuana use doesn't seem to impair sexual motivation or performance, Eisenberg said. If anything, it's associated with increased coital frequency.
Whoa.
You can tell he's from Stanford saying coital.
We're going to start today with Jay, who has a story out of the great state of New Jersey, or as we like to call it, New Jersey.
Legal weed is one step closer in New Jersey. Here's what's next. Looking at an article from USA Today today. Dateline Trenton.
Now, is it today, or is it just...
It's today, yesterday, man.
Okay.
Trenton, New Jersey. New Jersey is moving to make recreational marijuana sales and use legal for adults.
They've come a long way since Chris Christie, since he was such an opponent to reform. I mean, he was one of the biggest.
Was he? What a turd.
He was so anti-cannabis. That's right. That's
so you would have, a few years ago, you never would have thought New Jersey was going to be adult use state anytime soon.
Chris Christie blocked
but now
everything,
they have
including a bridge.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that.
But now they have a Democratic governor, so there's a good chance.
So, next time the New Yorkers make fun of the people from Jersey, throw that in their face.
Also, you don't know who's lobbying for pro-reform.
Yeah, especially those who are engaged in, shall we say, waste management industry.
Yeah.
And certain elements of the entertainment industry and our thing. Check us out at VoteProPot.com.
And we'd love to see an email from you at VoteProPot@gmail.com.
And please like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Just do a search for VoteProPot. Or, ladies, you can search for me on Tinder. Just look for Big Daddy 420. I'm a Capricorn with a bad moon rising, and I'm ready to party.
You got something rising. I don't know what the moon is doing.
That's just messed up.
And so I would like to introduce an old friend of ours who is currently on tour with the band Louis Prima Jr. and The Witness. And you may all remember Louis Prima from the 50s and 60s. Well, this is Louis Prima Jr., and it's an amazing big band sound. And with us today is their drummer, our good friend, A.D. Adams. How are you, A.D.?
I'm great, you guys. How are you, man? It's been a long time. Good to
Been a little while.
So, AD, Tell us what your experiences are with weed in terms of when you're comfortable and when you're not. Like we were talking about it early in the show. Do you like to catch a little buzz before you play or after you play? You know.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I'm more comfortable when I'm buzzed, and I like, we have long bus trips sometimes where, we just drove from Chicago to Nashville today. The bus pulled in about an hour and a half ago.
Wow.
And that's 8 hours on a bus, and you take a stop at use the bathroom. And there's a bathroom on the bus, but no pooping on the bus. So
No, that's a rule.
yeah, you gotta pull over, and I usually roll little pinners, little pin, and I'll go walk somewhere and just 2-3 puffs, and I'm back on the bus, and no harm, no foul. But I'm reluctant to carry it. I very rarely have it with me. It's not by law, by decree. Louis doesn't mind, but it's just one of those things where I'd rather not put everybody at risk, depending on what state line we cross. You never know what state we might go through from, if we're, again, driving from Chicago to Nashville. What states are in between? Are we going to cut the corner of a state where we could really get in trouble? And that's a risk, sadly, still we don't want to take.
But another thing that's happened in Colorado is that they did a poll. 61% of the people polled said that people of Coloradans, I think. Coloradans.
Yeah.
61% of them said that the legalizing cannabis has had a positive effect on their state. Now, I think it's like 19% said that they thought it had a bad effect on their state, negative effect, and the rest of the people were neutral. But what they have found, and I've seen it when I visited Colorado, it's cannabis culture has become ingrained, embedded in the culture of Colorado.
Yeah, definitely.
Because now more and more it's becoming accepted. For years, if you were a marijuana user, you were a criminal. You should be ashamed of yourself and should never admit it in public.
Right.
But now it's like, whatever. We smoke, drink, we don't care.
And I have to imagine it's just a repeat of exactly what happened in the years after Prohibition was lifted.
Right.
It was unacceptable, then it was acceptable, then it was pervasive. About 77 million Americans have cannabis convictions on their record.
77 million?
77 million Americans.
Wow. That's amazing.
And according to their campaign website, quote, these convictions can restrict access to housing, employment, education, public assistance, and voting rights long after the sentence has been served.
Right.
So, you do your time, you pay your debt, and you still have a conviction on your record.
For possession.
For simple possession or sale. And you can now get these charges erased. Nothing like a clean slate.
What happens if, let's say you get pulled over for DWI and they find a little weed and they drop the charges, and you only go to court for the DWI? I'm asking for a friend.
Of course. Well,
I wonder if
I'm not a lawyer, and I don't play one on TV. But that would not count as a conviction. I'm just going to guess.
Tell your friend I'm not loaning him any money and I'm not bailing him out.
Cool. I didn't feel like driving to College Park.
See, the way you know that it counts as a conviction is when you've been convicted.
Okay. Yeah.
That's how that works.
That's how you know.
Maryland struggled. They struggled getting the system going. And they still blew away the estimates.
Well, what happened? It was very difficult to get it off the ground. It took them years to do it, and when they finally did, they sort of struggled. But then it seems they sort of got their act together, and more patients started, getting registered, and now the sales. And then the big thing was, I got my card. When that happened, boom, sales exploded.
That's what it was. It was you, a one man,
And that was just this past month, right? So most of that $96 million was yours, right? I didn't know you had that kind of dough.
He's at the dispensary every day,
I didn't know you had that kind of dough.
He walks in the door and they go, Andrew, hey, buddy.
Yeah, he's like Norm from Cheers. Andrew! Of course, the most striking example of this is alcohol prohibition back in the 20s and 30s. Did it stop anyone from drinking alcohol? Of course not. It just chased them all underground.
Actually, drinking increased during Prohibition.
Yeah. But not only did drinking increase, but it created a whole new class of violent criminals that we're still dealing with today. Does that sound familiar? Why? Because the government back then decided that drinking alcohol was immoral. Now they're telling us that taking drugs, especially cannabis, isn't good for you.
Today is a historic day in cannabis reform. Today, Canada, as a country, legalized, which means that they're the second country in the world to do it. And being such a major economy, this is a major deal. The floodgates have opened, and Pandora's box has now been cracked, and the floodgates are starting a stream of waters coming through now. So I really can't see where the world is going to turn back cannabis reform.
I can't either, and not to mention the fact that they are our neighbors to the north. Just by that reason alone, there really is no going back. I think it's becoming more and more inevitable. What do you think?
Absolutely. And Mexico is going to be having some major reforms soon as well.
And how do you think this impacts the United States as far as, will it speed up our process of reform, or what do you think?
I hope so. What is happening, I think a big result of Canada legalizing is a lot of businesses, a lot of Americans are crossing the border and setting up businesses and investing in Canadian firms.
Yeah, taking money out of the U.S.
Canada is going to lead the world.
Big business is moving up there to run the cannabis companies so they can do it legally.
Well, they're going to lead the world for a time. I think as soon as the United States climbs on board, we have enough of a market and enough resources to eclipse everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
But for now, Canada is leading the world.
Cannabis is not toxic nor fatal. In fact, according to the NIH, tobacco is the first leading preventable cause of death in America, and alcohol is the third leading cause of preventable death. And according to the DEA, marijuana has killed exactly 0 people ever in the history of the world.
Not a one.
That's a pretty good statistic.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Throw that one at Uncle Jeff.
I wonder what's the second leading cause of preventable death. We got the first and the third.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't
Bad
know.
dental hygiene, maybe. I don't know. I just never. They give you the first, they give you the third, but they don't tell you what's number 2.
Yeah, just look into that, Phil, and tell us on the next episode.
All right. I'm an expert on number 2.
Hey, Alexa.
Or tell us the next time we record this episode.
Okay.
That's an inside joke.
There are folks, good friends of mine, who really don't think that it's a good idea to legalize cannabis. I think they're wrong. We're still friends. We're good.
The three of us have very different political beliefs, I would say, and we're all buds. I mean, you know?
Yeah, I'm right and you guys are wrong.
Well, those of us, or those in our audience who have been listening to Vote Pro Podcast since the beginning will know that Andrew, Jay, and I each occupy different positions on the political spectrum. Andrew is a proud liberal. Jay is an enthusiastic libertarian. I'm what you might call a staunch conservative, or in layman's terms, a true American. And
actually, I don't know if I'm really liberal. I consider myself I'm an independent. I do agree with a lot of liberal stances on social issues, but when it comes to financial issues, I tend to maybe agree more with some Republicans.
Apparently, Hell's Angels want to sue the government for $2 billion in revenue that they've lost because of legalization of marijuana. They're talking about a total of $2 billion over the next decade, according to acknowledged Hell's Angels lawyer Brandon Tuggs. He says, I've been selling weed since I'm 12 years old. And this is Gino Willett, a 56-year-old Hells Angels member who's been a member for the past 36 years. He says, do you think I'm going to want to work at Walmart or McDonald's at minimum wage? I don't think so. Yeah, here's the thing, Gino. Tough shit.
So
you were engaged in illegal activity, which is now legal. So,
Is this for real? Is this for real?
Yeah, and this apparently is for real. I don't see the Onion logo anywhere on here. I mean, I'm almost tempted
my God,
to
these
look
guys are
for
selling
it.
weed on the black market. I mean, they're essentially criminals, and they're going to sue the government because the government made it legal. They don't have income anymore. Am I getting this? Is that what this is about? The fuck?
Yeah. Well, maybe Canada will legalize beating the shit out of people and put the Hells Angels out of business once and for all. We need to look at the way we schedule different medications across the board, because one of the concerns that I have with marijuana is the difficulty that the folks have to do research on it because of the scheduling system. So this goes back to what we've been talking about practically since our first podcast. Cannabis is listed as Schedule 1 drug, meaning what, Andrew?
It's like the best of all of them. It's like the number one.
No, that's not what it means. It means that it has no legitimate medical applications, that it is prone to abuse and is addictive.
I think you woke him up, Phil.
And meanwhile, as a kind of a corollary story, the U.S. News and World Report said, and this is back several months ago, that New York City has seen a surge in use of synthetic marijuana, and more than 160 people have been hospitalized for it. A spike in emergency room visits in New York City by users suffering from high blood pressure, hallucinations, hot flashes, and psychotic meltdowns.
Yeah.
Everything that Harry Anslinger said was true about marijuana, but isn't.
Yeah, but in fairness, that's a different compound. I think they call that synthetic weed because they make it look like weed. But it's got all kinds of crazy shit in it. I think it's got all kinds of...
It's potpourri sprayed with formaldehyde.
With horse tranquilizers and shit. It's not the same as...
But this drug is not that.
It's not... Yeah, right.
It's not that. This is closer to Marinol, I get the impression.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually... It's what they've done is they've mimicked the compound, THC, and then created it in a lab and are marketing it that way, so... But
so
still,
the effect is going to be closer to being stoned than being on angel dust.
Yeah, the point is not that this is necessarily really dangerous. It's not. The point is, it's the same fucking thing as the plant. Why would the plant be Schedule 1 and this Schedule 2? All it is the same compound that's made in a laboratory instead of pulled from the plant. It's crazy. Makes no sense.
I think the headline put forth an optics that isn't really true. Because people see synthetic weed and they automatically think about the crap that you get at convenience stores.
So I guess I was kind of taken in by the headline here.
Yeah, you were, and that's right, Andrew. I think you're right, exactly.
Well, I'm glad you cleared that up.
That's right. Phil, you ignorant slut.
Still, the point is, it's not any more or less dangerous than the plant, right? So what
that's the point. That's the point. And it gets DEA approval while
in a flash.
Cannabis does not.
Right. And we've been dicking around with weed for freaking 50 years, and we still can't get them to take it off Schedule 1.
There's a gentleman by the name of Bill Levine in Indianapolis who just started. By the way, he's Jewish, and he just started the first church of cannabis. Now, it sounds like he refers to himself as the Grand Poobah of the first church of cannabis. Now, it sounds like a joke, but the federal government just gave them tax-exempt status.
Yeah.
So they are a legitimate religion. Now, he says
this is the same federal government that's got a secret antique. Never mind.
Yeah. Hey, probably different departments.
The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
I think the IRS is the people that give tax-exempt status.
That's right.
He said we're a non-denominational church. He goes, we have our services on Wednesday night because we don't want to take up your weekend. It's $50. They have 700 members. It's $50 a year. It's tax exempt. Instead of having a 10 commandments, they have the new DD dozen. Now, the first one is their first commandment is don't be an asshole. Treat everyone with love and as an equal. I can get behind that.
Yeah, it's a good commandment. Thou shalt not beeth an asshole.
Thou shalt.
Gallup poll finds the U.S. favors cannabis legalization by 2-1. Now, this is, as the article says, it's often hard to envision massive, super fast changes in social attitudes, but they do happen.
Why do you think that is, Phil? I mean, why? I mean, think about it. We've been at the same place in terms of acceptance for 50 years. Why in the last 10?
I have a theory. Well, for two reasons. One, medical marijuana is becoming more and more acceptable.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So people are going, maybe, okay, there's something to this here. And the other thing is all the people that are really opposed to it, the reefer madness
crowd
generation are dying off.
That's true. And I think you're right about that.
Well, I do think that there is generational change in this, and it reaches a tipping point, kind of. I think both of the things you said, Andrew, are correct. And I think there's just more information, more and better information out about it now. I think in the age of the internet, people are able to look this stuff up a lot more easily than they could. It's information. And really, that's why we're here. Is to get some of that information from where it resides to where it ought to be in people's minds.
All right, I got a silly little news story here. It's actually from a couple weeks ago.
You'd think the people would have had enough of silly little news stories. Well, I look around me and I see that isn't so.
I'm sorry.
But what's wrong with that?
I need to know.
All right, here we go.
I got a short one. Okay.
That's rather personal.
I got a short one.
Sorry to hear that, bud. Explains the singleness.
Yep. Okay.
Great. Okay. To get started, let's look at a little history. What's all that noise?
Sounds like a bong.
What is that?
I'm cool, man.
Great. All right, I'm cutting that out.
It's my orange soda. I'm just blowing into a straw.
Hey, it's just an orange soda. We'd like to send out a great, big, sloppy, wet, metaphorical kiss on the mouth to each and every one of our listeners. Why? Because VoteProPot-Cast has been ranked by FeedSpot, the online content reader, among their top 10 marijuana podcasts.
Yippee.
And this, according to FeedSpot, was from among thousands of cannabis-related podcasts. VoteProPot-Cast came in ranked at number 9, and we could not be more thrilled.
Fantastic.
Isn't that cool? We truly, really, really appreciate your listening and your interest in our humble little podcast, and we are more committed than ever to bringing you the most accurate, up-to-date, fact-based information about the many aspects of cannabis legal reform that we can possibly provide. So thank you, one and all. So we hope you've all enjoyed our very first Vote Pro Pot Clipcast. 2018 was a really big year for cannabis legal reform, and we think 2019 is going to be even bigger. And we appreciate all of our listeners, and we really urge you to get involved. One of the ways you can do that is, there's lots of ways you can do that, and you can check those ways out at VoteProPot.com.
You can send us an email at VoteProPot@gmail.com or leave us a message on our message line at 240-257-2441, and we'll put you on the show.
And please like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Just do a search for Vote Pro Pot.
And as always, none of this happens without the action and involvement of like-minded individuals and organizations. So please stay informed, stay involved, and vote Pro Pot.
Wish I was up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sinsemilla at the beginning of the day. But here I am in New York City, hiding out in Central Park, getting kidnapped by the police today sometime before dark. But I wish I was up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sinsemilla at the beginning of the day. The judge looked down upon me, frowned. He said, "Kid, get on your way. Just don't start out your morning with espresso and a J." I said, "I wish I was up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sinsemilla at the beginning of the day." Hitched on out to Portland, caught a ride up to BC, took the bus over to the neighborhood to have a bowl with my coffee. Now I'm up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sinsemilla at the beginning of the day. Smoking good old Sinsemilla